and lead Perspektiva, which is a Moscow-based organization with networks across Russia who do an awful lot of work in raising awareness of disability issues, in introducing particular programs around education, employment, and for the last few years have actually organized a spectacular film festival in some of the trendiest art house cinemas in Moscow around disability issues. And Denise is therefore talking to us about the Kino Bez Barrierov, so the kind of cinema without barriers, without obstacles. So, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I always enjoy hearing the way people introduce you. Sometimes, I mean, I don't feel like I'm an authority on disability issues, but there are a lot of authorities, who have whatever. Thank you very much. So I'm really happy to be here to talk about our film festival, and thank you very much for the invitation. And it's something that is very dear to my heart because I am one of the founders of the festival, and the festival has been going on for now 12 years, and we run it actually I have more details here. I always wonder how much I should be showing of I always have too many slides, but so if you notice there's our film festival, the one that we held over the past, our logo for the first 5 years of our festival, and then we actually changed our logo during the last festival, the 6th festival. But I think what has remained the same is that our festival is really a celebration of the lives of people with disabilities. And I think when we run our festival, that's one of our goals, to make it a celebration. But I run a disability organization, and we don't only run film festivals. It's one of those. It's like a hobby, our film festival. And I don't know. We started our festival when we saw that in a lot of other countries, for example, in London, there was a great film festival. I don't know if they have it anymore. And we saw this festival here, and we thought, we need to run a festival in Moscow. So I have a team of about 50 people. It's a cross-disability team, and we, in addition to doing film festivals, we promote inclusive education. So that's why Aideen in the beginning said that I would say something, but I'm not going to. I mean, actually, there's a lot happening in inclusive education now, but as any new movement, there are a lot of issues with it as well. But if 10 years ago there was nothing, and so 10, 15 years ago, and there's actually a lot of kids with disabilities, with Down syndrome, etc., they're going to mainstream schools, especially in Moscow. We also run an employment program, and our goal is for people with disabilities to be in the mainstream, and we work for the most part with young people with disabilities. We have a youth leadership program, and recently started a program for kids with disabilities, and we do a lot of raising awareness activities, disability rights. We take cases to court if need be, and we have a small sports program. So that's what we do at Perspektiva. And I'm not going to talk about statistics because you guys have heard so much today already about the situation in Russia. I think you have a good picture of that. But what I did want to say is that when we started our festival, there was almost you hardly ever saw images of people with disabilities on TV or in the cinema. So this was another thing that we decided would be one of our goals, is using film to change attitudes, etc., but you really didn't see it. And for the most part, it was, the image of a disabled person, and you've been hearing a lot about this today, was very negative. It was people with disabilities, it was shameful, it was taboo. And so you didn't see, or you'd see very stereotypical images in the media. For example, on December 3rd, we would always see people with disabilities. That's International Disability Awareness Day. And that was a celebration, or one day that was celebrated. I think it started like in the 90s, in the early 90s. But it would be, you would see poets, you would sometimes wheelchair dancing, and sometimes athletes, and that was it. And that's really all you learned about. Because we even monitored what they showed on the media that day, and that was pretty much it. So things have changed over the years, but back then when we started our festival, we were really excited about looking at different images and bringing those images and films, etc., to Russia. So why a disability film festival? We had already started using film in some of our trainings, and we were beginning to realize that film really was powerful. We had a film that we continue to show today about the independent living movement in the U.S., and it's a wonderful film about people with disabilities who are living independent, full lives. And for many people that we showed that to, it was shocking. I mean, shocking in a good sense. People had no idea that a person with a disability could live such a full life if they had the opportunity, if they had different conditions. So it was important for both people with disabilities, and in teachers we would show it to, and other people without disabilities who had never seen a person with a significant disability in the community. So we realized that films were this great tool for changing attitudes. And so we started looking for films. We learned about these film festivals. There was one in San Francisco, there was one in London, another one in Canada. And these films that we'd learned about them, we thought, we need to run one of those festivals in Moscow. I don't think we realized how difficult it would be. It's a lot of work to run a film festival. It's like I said, we love our film festival, but it's always much more work than most of our programs. So that's what, and we also realized that films really empowered people with disabilities themselves. Learning about and seeing role models, seeing other people with disabilities who are living active lives. So in 2002, we decided to launch our first festival, and we started looking for films. I think back then when we started looking, we had no idea that we would get so many films. And we got all these cassettes. And we got them in some of the films. They got stopped at the border. They just never made it into Russia. But we get letters from people, and we didn't realize that there were hundreds of films out there on different disability issues, all kinds of films. So we're really excited when we started getting all these films and watching them. I mean, over the years, I've watched I probably watched about 1,000 films on disability issues. And so we started our festival. And our goals back then were to raise awareness about disability issues, and also to provide new ideas. We kept thinking all these professionals will come to our festival and they'll see these different, they'll learn more about disability, but also they'll see things that they could possibly doing using in their work, because there were so few services, just very little happening in disability. And I mean, now there's more, but we still see this as a great tool for people to learn from the films that we're showing, and empower people with disabilities. And another thing was to encourage filmmakers, because in the first few festivals, most of our films were foreign films, and it actually hasn't been. It was over the past 2 or 3 festivals, we got more Russian films. But then we couldn't. There were no Russian films on disability issues, and documentary, feature, etc. And then we kept thinking about this video library that we would have and we could use in all of our other raising awareness education activities. So we talk about some of our principles. When we started looking for films, first we had to choose from the films we got what we were going to show at our festival. And this was a kind of a dilemma for us. I mean, we had to decide what criteria we would use, and one of the criteria was positive images of people with disabilities, those kinds of images that you weren't seeing in Russia at all, and non-stereotypical images. So we had lots of films, but we end up actually showing. We still end up showing a lot of films because we don't like to say no, but we would show about we got I think at the first festival we got about 150 films, and every year we get around 200 films, and we end up showing about 75 films, sometimes 80 films at the festival, which is it's a lot of films. And then we set up a steering committee, and for us it was really important that the steering committee also include lots of different people from the community. So it was disability NGOs, other NGOs, some media, some filmmakers, so we got involved, people that could, a variety, a varied group of people who could have both a professional viewpoint, but also come from a disability background as well. And then we wanted our festival to be accessible for all. And that was an issue too, because at our first festival we could not find an accessible venue. We looked everywhere and we couldn't find anything. We eventually found a place that was kind of accessible for people in wheelchairs, but we just had to make it more accessible. And then we encourage people outside of the disability community, people in the film industry, to be a part of the festival as well. And then when we invited people, we tried to get the film directors to the festival. And for us, it was always important. We would invite them, and they would say, "Okay, I'll come." But we would always tell them, "Please come with your main character." And for some of them, that was odd to bring their main character along. Now it's changing. Most people want to come with their main character, but that was important for them to be there together. And then another thing, very important thing, is our film festival that now goes to many regions of Russia is always run by disability organizations and by parent organizations. And so we feel like this is something that we give them, this kind of tool that we give them to raise awareness in their communities. As I said, we get all kinds of films: animation, documentary, feature, short, long, comedies, love stories. We actually have had it over the past few years. We have a prize for the best film about love. We've had prizes for the best film, the best comedy. We've had black comedies, all kinds of different films, public service announcements, and this is just a few of the films. Like a Butterfly, which is a wonderful film about a young man with severe CP, and about how he is included, how he learns to communicate, and how people spend time with him so that they can understand how he can communicate now and understand his abilities. Just a wide array of films, children's films. Something that we have decided is very important at our festival is bringing films that we have films about children, but films for children. So we look for films. I don't know if you've ever tried to do this, but looking for a film specifically made for children is not easy. And we have some connections now, people who know about these films. And every year we're able to bring new films to the festival that are made specifically for kids with, like the film Crocodile. If any of you heard of that film, Crocodile? It's a lovely film, a German film. The kids loved it. And there's a boy, it's just about a bunch of kids and all the things they're like, kids are 10, 12, and all the things the adventures they have. And one of the characters is, he's actually not a wheelchair user, but in the film he's a wheelchair user. So we look for films. So all of our films, we have all these wonderful films that we show at our film festival. And as I say, they're very varied for a wide audience. And access to our festival. So access is a big issue, and maybe this sounds kind of, for here in London, things are accessible, right? But in Moscow, unfortunately, things, as you've heard, aren't accessible. So it's been a big issue making it more accessible, putting captions on the films. We caption all the films, and then instead of just having dub over, because most of the film festivals in Moscow will do a dub over, and so you won't have subtitles. Audio description is something that, in fact, we introduced to Russia. And we brought over an audio describer years ago, who was in 2004, and he came and trained some people, and we've been doing audio description since then. But it hasn't really become, often we just have volunteers coming in to do the audio description, and finding an accessible venue. And then I just wanted to briefly tell you about our new brand, so that we needed to advertise to a wider audience. We didn't want people to see, we had a wheelchair in the beginning, the one you saw at the beginning, that wheelchair, and then we decided that we needed something that would be of interest to a wider audience. And first of all, our film festival is not only about, of course, people who use wheelchairs. So we talked to some designers, and they helped us come up with this new symbol. I don't know if you like it. Do you like it? Because it's very different. We had to get used to it. But the whole idea is celebrating diversity. The diversity of our films, of the main characters in our films, and of the audience, the people who come to watch our festival. And the whole idea is also that we think our films really have an impact on the people who come to watch them, and have changed the lives of each person who comes, even a little bit. So we think that that's important, that this person is our festival is transforming people, or changing people, so they can go out and make changes in their communities. And so this is our new logo, by diversity and striving for equality. And then our festival jury. I don't know if you recognize any of these faces, but these are like Vladimir Minchov is a very well-known film director and an actor, and he was the head of our last jury. Sergei Miroshnichenko is also a well-known documentary filmmaker, and in fact, someone just told me that he has gotten the contract to make Paralympic films. So he's going to be making films about the Paralympic Games, which I found very exciting, because he's never made any films on disability. And he was the head of our first jury, and his father was blind. So he has he knows about disability. And then Sergei Govorukhin, who was an amputee, and he fought in the war in Afghanistan. So he was also the head of I think it was like our fourth film festival. So for us, it's very important to get stars involved, get people who are recognized in the community. So it's not just being organized by people with disabilities and run by people with disabilities, and that helps to bring a lot of, to raise awareness about it and bring more media to our festival as well. The children's program, I mentioned that already. We've had thousands of kids watch films and participate in the children's program. And what I didn't say is, we try to make, I think it's one of my slides later, but we try to make this really warm atmosphere at the festival. So we always have popcorn. And so when you go to the children's festival, there's popcorn everywhere. It's a lot of fun. The kids love it. We get thousands of kids, and they love to eat our free popcorn. And two also important parts of the festival are the opening ceremony and the closing. So our festival is really, it's a lot more than just showing films. Because at the festival opening, we also try to celebrate all the film directors who have come, the main characters who have come, and then our awards ceremony. We also have this lovely ceremony, and we showcase disability culture as well. Wheelchair dancers, some deaf performers, and and other performers as well. So it's a wonderful, exciting event that the people love, and I've many people have told me that it's been one of those most touching film festival ceremonies they've ever been to, compared to a lot of other film festival ceremonies in Russia. And advertising is important. We bring in lots of media for our festival, and we're very proud that this year, in 2012, we held our festival at a central location. It's one of the most central movie theaters. Actually, at two of the central locations, the October Theater and this one, Hudojstvenny. And our lovely poster was up during the course of the festival, so everybody in Moscow could see it. I mean, anyone who walked past the theater. And the warm atmosphere I told you, but another thing we do is we always have coffee and tea that's free. Nestle gives us coffee all the time. We have cookies. So it's really important that it's a very homey atmosphere. And just some statistics, we've had more than 10,000 viewers in Moscow, about 40,000 people nationwide, because our festival then goes to other cities. And we've shown more than 300 films in our festival, but we've received about 1,200. And we've had guests from all over, about 200 guests from different countries, and we've shown films from all over, from Iran, from France, Australia, Israel, the US, Japan, Armenia, so from all over the world. And we've had a lot of these people, film directors, actually come to the festival to present their films. We've had a lot of sponsorship, and our festival echo, as we call it, goes to a lot of cities of Russia. About 20 cities of Russia will then use those films in their cities, and they will organize film festivals. So it doesn't stay in Moscow. And one thing, I'm coming to the end here, and mobilizing the community. So we think our film festival really mobilizes, and we get lots of volunteers involved. In fact, this year we had hundreds of volunteers. We had more than we've ever had in Moscow. The festival is just going to the regions now. And we had lots of journalists. I think we had like 50 journalists, young students of journalism come, and they spent 4 days writing different stories about the festival, and then putting it on the web. And then we get journalists involved. We've done trainings for journalists, but we get them involved at all stages of the festival as well. We get support from filmmakers and actors, students, and our steering committee that I already mentioned. So we think our festival really mobilizes people and helps to make lots of changes. And I know that a lot of people, for example, I know another filmmaker, they've been part of, is a couple, and they've been part of our steering committee for years, and they've actually recently produced 2 wonderful films. I don't know if you've seen the film Clément, the label, if anyone's seen the film Label. It's on our website if you want to watch it. And so I think that we see how people have been impacted by the festival. And our recipe for success is getting lots of volunteers involved, a wide variety of films. People with disabilities have to play a key role in the event, involving lots of different NGOs at the beginning stages, good advertising, involving actors and public figures, creating a really warm, welcoming atmosphere, getting members of the film industry involved, and getting directors there together with their main characters. And leading lots of discussions. We really are happy. We love to have discussions after the films about the films. And I just wanted to briefly, I have something from one of we call it a dnevnik. I'm going to get it up. I'm just going to the beginning of it.
Главная задача – это объединить людей, доказать всему обществу, что барьеров для общения нету.
demonstrate that there are no barriers between us. This was our fifth film festival.
Я восхищена организаторами фестиваля, потому что то, что они делают, это подвиг в нашей стране.
Фестиваль — это прежде всего праздник. И, как мне кажется, праздник удался. Много фильмов, много зрителей.
Я на все фестивали прихожу. В этом году привела сюда своих внуков. Я считаю, обязательно надо посмотреть.
I'm really impressed with a range of films from all over the world.
С каждым разом, с каждым новым фестивалем фильмы все интереснее.
Films get more interesting and more interesting. These are some of the films we showed at our fifth festival. That's a film from Iran. There's an Israeli film. This is a Russian team. This is the film Anita, a lovely film if you have a chance to watch it.
Мне кажется, наши фильмы никого не оставляют равнодушным. Я знаю, что я думаю, что я лично изменилась из этого фестиваля. Я надеюсь, что те, которые посещали несколько лет, что тоже они...
I just wanted to add that. But so I basically said that these films have changed my life over the past few years, and I'm happy that I'm convinced that these films won't leave anyone indifferent. Thank you.